Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Real Differences, Running for Local Office for Beginners. My name is John Stauner. I'm a director with the Three Lakes Community Foundation, and I'm the facilitator of the leadership team with the Forward Three Lakes initiative. Forward Three Lakes is a program of the Community Foundation and is the implementation phase of a process that we began with the UW design team about a year ago in the fall of 2020. We did a virtual design team visit. We have 6 different teams, and our leadership team, one of our goals was to encourage civic engagement. We believe that the strength of the community depends on having its members come forward and be active and participating in government. Forward Three Lakes is all about building collaborations. And tonight is really an example of that collaborations between the town of Three Lakes, between the Demmer Library, and between the Northwoods chapter of the League of Women Voters. My honor tonight to introduce Irma Rhinelander, the state president of the League of Women Voters, Dorothy Skye. And Dorothy is going to be our moderator tonight.
Thanks, John.
Good thing I'm not a librarian.
Voters. I got here. There are 500 about how elect representatives. Continually need fresh candidates. So running for office is an excellent place for young people. An excellent way for a person who has a lot of it. Regardless of where they're coming from, candidates can hope to local is an option. Prepare several. So here's our agenda. Started for training. Tom Giroux will describe the paperwork we office. Each of our panelists, 5 minutes, answering questions. Then we will open up questioning for the audience. So to start us off, give us the nuts and bolts of the paperwork needed to.
Okay, well, first of all, when completing your paperwork, your clerk, as in Sue Harris or Tracy Hartman, is your friend. They are more than helpful in helping candidates. It's not that difficult. I'm also available to do it. I've helped, I counted it up today, 6 different candidates fill out paperwork for various local offices. Don't ask me how I got that job, but I did, and I enjoy doing it. Not that difficult. There's just 3 simple forms. It's the same for town board, county board, school district, same form, and they're really not that difficult. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the forms because I think most people are here trying to accept it. But it's not difficult. It shouldn't be a barrier. The three forms are campaign finance form, so that's where you reveal, how you're going to finance your campaign and how much you're going to spend roughly. I advise for local office that you check the box less than $2,000. It should cost a lot less than $2,000. And it simplifies the paperwork. The next form is a declaration of candidacy. That has to be notarized, and usually the clerks are able to do that. So bring your paperwork in, they can go over it with you, make sure it's right, and it can be notarized right in the clerk's office. And the same goes for the school district as a clerk also. That can help you with it. The last paperwork are your nomination papers, where you get 20 people for each that live in your district, that are year-round qualified to vote in your district. You can't have someone who's a snowbird sign because they're not a year-round. They have to live in your district, and they sign your nomination. 20 signatures. I always recommend that you get a few extra, just in case. The important thing on this form is whoever circulates for the signature should sign it. So if someone is circulating on your behalf, they should sign their form, and then you should sign your own form if you're circulating. It's always best to get your own signatures, a chance to talk to candidates, and get started on your campaign. I did want to mention some of the qualifications. Again, we talked about living in the district. This is the brand new, hot off the press map for Oneida County that I showed from the boardroom today, Dave. And there was a change in your Three Lakes districts. It shifted north a little bit. You always had this northern district and then this big district that goes all the way down to Pelican Lake. So there's really two county board representatives that represent. Maps are now final. So if you're in the southern part of the Three Lakes, this is where you need to gather your signatures. Up here, north of 32 mostly, that's where you gather yours. You need to be 18 years old, live in the district. In Wisconsin, you cannot be a convicted felon and serve on the local board. You also can't be convicted of a misdemeanor, which is a breach of public trust, but it's not really defined, and I don't know of a court that's figured out what that really means, but it usually doesn't come up. You cannot be a county employee or employed by the county. Other than that, like I said, the only other requirements that would be at least 18. I think it's nice to see a number of younger folks in the audience. I think Dorothy alluded to that. Often our boards are a little older, and it would be nice to have some younger people representing the diversity of the Northwoods. So with that, I'll be available afterwards. I have the form here. If you guys have any questions about forms or paperwork, I can help. That's what I'm here for. I also have my email here.
Okay, we have 5 panelists who are currently 4 here in person, 1 in the Zoom sphere. They've been prompted with 3 questions. Those are, what would you advise a new candidate to consider as they campaign? What details about running do you wish you had known? What is the learning curve once in office, and how can it be shortened? What have you learned since being in office? What kind of preparation do you recommend to someone? Answer those any way you like from personal experience. And in the process of doing it, start off with introducing yourself. and start off on this move over.
I'm Sue Harris, and I'm the town clerk. I'm an appointed clerk. I am not an elected official. I do work with all of the elected officials and assist them, as Tom had indicated, with all of the paperwork. I guess advice that I would give would be that you're thick-skinned. Know that you might have an opponent today that could be your ally tomorrow. You definitely have to be able to be very open-minded and not necessarily have an opinion and try to assist, at least in my position, your party. Review some of the statutes, be a little bit familiar perhaps with what's going on with the election, as well as your town statutes. Certain things that your board might be having to look at are usually repetitive. So every year there, at certain times of the year, certain things come up over and over again, whether it's the annual budget process or your board of review. There's a lot of things that are done every year. Topics come up all the time, whether Oneida County Planning and Zoning said something. So there are new topics that will come up, but a lot of it is repetitive topics. It's just a different location or a different person involved. Learning curves, for me, I've always said it takes 3 years. Your first year is pretty much a cluster. Your second year is a little bit more of a routine, and by your third year, you pretty much have it down pat. Reviewing past agenda packets, past town board minutes, past, if it's a plan commission or a town board, whatever the subject matters might have been over the last couple of years, review those agendas, look at those topic matters. A lot of times those things are continuing. They come back year after year. And that's a learning curve to me that I think you can save some time, is by being a little bit familiar with what's been going on for the last year or two. Preparing for running for office, know what your schedule is. Know if you have the time. Does your family support you being gone, 2 or 3 hours every week? Though we might meet every other week, there are subject matters that might need weekly attention. So I guess you definitely want to have family support. Want to know what your schedule is going to allow for. I guess for me, those would be the top 3 tickets. I don't know if I took the 5 minutes or not, but as a clerk, assisting, those are the types of things that I would see that I would recommend.
I'm Jeff Boehm. I'm a town board of Three Lakes supervisor. As far as what advice I'd give a new candidate to consider, I got some really good advice before I ran for the town board from former town board supervisor Pat Volk. And he gave me a pat on the shoulder and he said, Jeff, doing this job is easy. You have to follow your heart, follow your conscience. Be true to yourself. You'll never go wrong. You spent your whole life trying to earn the trust and the respect of the people who will or won't. Your job to be true to yourself. But it's also your job to be a better listener. And I've thought about those words of wisdom many, many times, and I think that's I spent a lot of time in my life talking with people, mostly talking to people, not necessarily listening. And I found in this job, people want to be heard. They want to feel like they can approach you and talk to you like a real person. Because after all, we are all people. That's what this is really about. We're all just people. And some of us have already stepped up to the plate to help people. And some of us have yet to step up to that plate of people. So it's all about people. So moving on to the second question, I think they're all kind of related. I think a big part of everything from my perspective is you see a need, you fill a need. Many years ago, I decided that there was a few subjects that the town board had been dealing with, and what I heard from people that had attended meetings and what I read in the paper, those stories didn't really line up. So I decided, I'm going to go to a couple meetings and I'm going to formulate my own opinion. And I found it fascinating because the more I learned, the more I realized the less I knew, if that makes any sense. There was just so much information there, and it was real information. It wasn't an editorial, or it wasn't somebody's opinion supported by two facts. It was a collaboration, a roundtable discussion, similar to what we're hopefully going to have later, where people who were a lot smarter than me were ambitious and eager to share their experience and knowledge. It involved our town, which all of us were passionate about or wouldn't have been at the meeting. As far as how I think the learning curve can be shortened, I would agree completely with Chris about familiarizing yourself with former subject matter. But I think the biggest way you can shorten the learning curve is just to be a good listener and be open-minded. Because there's just when you think you've seen it all, something comes up that you just never saw coming, you could have never prepared for, and you're just, it's a work in progress. It's evolution. It's not an event. As far as what type of preparation do I recommend, I'd say go for it. You know, I've been involved in a lot of things in my life, and I have found the most difficult thing is the first step. Once you take the first step and engage, things fall into place, whether you're writing a story, reading a book, helping a neighbor, starting a project, whatever it is, take that first step. And if you're saying to yourself, like I said to myself, yeah, I'm just not ready yet, I'm not prepared, I'm going to work a little harder or broaden my horizons a little bit more, you'll probably never take the first step because you're never going to feel like you're really prepared. So I would encourage anyone who love your community or your county or your school, get engaged. We're looking for workers all the time. And that would be my closing remark, would be, we have a gentleman in our town who does an incredible amount of work for our waterfront homeowners. He told me something that I thought was wonderful one. He told me that as far as he was concerned with the Waterfront Homeowners Association, they were looking for workers. They weren't looking for people who wanted to hold the title. Looking for work. That's what we need. We need people who are ambitious, who want to roll up their sleeves and make a difference and people.
My name is Dave Hintz. I'm on the board of supervisors, and I'm also the county board chair. Wisconsin's unique in its structure, county boards. We have 21 supervisors in the county. We have more supervisors in Wisconsin. And we're organized that way. Most counties have a county administrator, who's kind of the county coordinator that work to and coordinates their activities. United County does not have it. So we do our business typically with committees. We have over 20 committees. Some are very busy committees. Planning and zoning, and they really run the business of the county. So each of our department heads reports to what we call a committee. Typically, the committees are made up of 5 supervisors. In some states, like Illinois, the county supervisors have responsibility for particular. Our county doesn't work that. We have committees of jurisdiction. Before running, I think the biggest thing you have to consider, are you really committed to a certain amount of time? We have 21 supervisors. Some of them probably open their package from the 50. With others study it and expand what's going on from the higher level. And of course, there's my supervisors that are dedicated to studying. diversity of it. No offense to Stephen, but it's basically 21. You're probably middle-aged. That's just the way it is. Most of us run on a like to see that show. Today we voted to as far as a learning curve. Most supervisors, county board meets 10 times. Special meetings, half of the time. The other things people mentioned, Stephen Cole. People to listen to understand. One of our supervisors says, I gave you two. It's different being in public office with diversity. I spent my time 32 years working. They're the senior person in the room. Not someone who's talking nonsense. Tell them, shut up. They can't do. I don't deal with people that quite different. They're hard-headed. And there's certain laws that can follow emails you send and receive related to town business or town business are subject to open record. Wants those released. You have a newspaper that but it's a rewarding experience. Probably a supervisor. Even's a good supervisor. So we'll go with 30%. I probably spend about 50% of my time. Always issues for some of the most difficult are personnel issues. Other major issues we've had are shoreline.
All right.
Okay. Give me 2 seconds. I'm having some audio. Yep. 2 seconds. Okay. Try now. No, but we've lost the meeting owl. Just a second. It's still giving me. Yeah, no, it's my fault.
I apologize. Okay, see, can you hear me on chat now? And anybody online, can you hear me?
Yeah, Eric, I can hear you.
Okay. Can you see the room? I don't know why it's pulling this one down here. I'm trying to set this to be our speaker.
There you go.
Yeah.
Like that's supposed to make, it makes Kyla our speaker instead of the, I don't know why it's making you our speaker instead of this room. I apologize.
I like your sticker. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing right now, but I'm pretty sure I'm not doing it.
That is very applicable at this moment.
That should be on the
I know.
Yes,
I love it.
Well, but it's making Kyla the speaker, and I don't know why. It's good to see you.
Let's see, is there a way that now I have to change it?
Oh, you should be fine. I don't know, like, again, this move self to feed, and then this should become speak. Nope.
I wonder if we
Okay,
shouldn't
well,
go
we're gonna
with,
leave it at this. At least we have a gallery view and you can hear her.
Yeah, hear Kyla just fine. So.
yeah. I wonder if we shouldn't go with the fact we can hear her. Are you there, Kyla?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
You can.
Okay. You want me to just run through the questions? My audio is a little glitchy with you, so just
Introduce yourself first and then run through the questions.
yes, good. So my name is Kyla Waksmonski. I am a supervisor for the town of Crescent, and I am new to the position. I was appointed in, I think, January, and then elected officially a couple months later. I have 6 kids between the ages of 3 and almost 11, with a set of twins in there. And I'm 37, and I say that just because I feel like there isn't a lot of my demographic super involved in local government right now, and I would love to see more of it. So as far as the questions go, I was recruited for a position that other members of town government knew was going to be open because someone was moving. And so I was a little naive to start with. You know, I was assured that my time commitment wouldn't be terribly significant. And I think that would be true if maybe you only attended the meetings and didn't do much outside of that. But as far as advice for a new candidate, I would, make sure that you've got the time. It's a little more than a 2 or 3 hour meeting once a month. And details that I wish I would have known. I work for our local health department at the county, and so I knew a little bit about government, but I had severely underestimated the difficulty with quorum rules and how fast you can move things through. It's really slow, much slower than I anticipated. And so that was something I wish I would have known. I went in, with a lot of energy and really thinking I was going to create some change. And it's just been slow because of the nature of the board. And so I would also recommend leveraging people that know a lot about the process. So just like what was said before me, town clerks, the meeting minutes, oh my goodness, looking back at those, attending meetings, that's all really helpful. And as far as the learning curve goes, oh my gosh, I was both happy and a little concerned to hear from Sue that it takes 3 years, because I feel like I'm almost at a year. I was feeling better about it, but now I think I'm humbled. So I've got a couple years to go. And as far as preparation, I think leveraging, like I said, the resources that are available to you. Tracy Hartman, county clerk, who also happens to be my town clerk, previous supervisors or people who have been in the role. We have several very active town residents that had I known then, I would have gone to, just to kind of pick their brains about things that have happened, and where they sort of saw the trajectory for the town going. Another thing that I would recommend people do is sort of identify a gap or something that you want to change within the town or whatever you're running for, and how you can add value. So my question to myself is, how am I adding value to this group? How am I contributing? And so that can sort of, start to form your platform. When people ask you, oh, why do you want to do this? You have an answer, and then you can engage in conversation.
We need broadband.
We have it.
Can you hear us again?
Yes, I can hear you now. Did I cut out?
No, I think we did.
So we want to move on to Mike now. Are you done, Kyla?
Yep, I'm done.
Right. Well, my name is Mike Kwaterski. I am part of the Three Lakes School Board, and I have to start off by saying it's an amazing experience. And I was tapped on the shoulder, probably something similar to Jeff experienced, by another board member that had been on the board for a number of years, and said, you should really think about running for a school board. And I had been involved at the school end of things for probably 5 or 6 years in a long-range planning effort that had gone underway at Three Lakes. And it really served as a great platform for myself to be able to learn and understand some of the issues, the concerns, and also, really recognize the great things that, the district was doing. So it really helped myself give a platform to start off. And then after that tap on the shoulder, started thinking a little bit more seriously about joining the board. And I decided that I was going to run. That was back in 2003. It was interesting because 2 days after I was elected on the board, we, as a district, had to go to referendum for the first time. And so talk about trying to learn quickly. Sometimes you get put in a spot that you're maybe not prepared and ready for, and that's going to happen. But I will say that in all of my experiences with all the board members that I worked with, I've worked with some amazing people on a professional level, and that's helped me become a better board, just listening and understanding other people's points of view. So I think it helps going into it with an open mind and really desire to help shape a future. It could be on the school board, could be on the county board or the town board, whatever it is. It's an opportunity to really make a difference and represent the community that you're serving. The neat thing about on the school board in terms of learning and as you're going through the process, this is a great organization. It's called the Wisconsin Association, and every school board member is going to be a member of that association. And what you get out of it is a huge benefit in terms of learning opportunities. They have seminars going continuously in all different aspects of school governance. And so if there is something that you need a refresher on or something that you need totally new information on, you can either find it online or an in-person experience. And so there is support for anyone that would be wishing to join in the school board. And, I strongly encourage anyone that has a desire to be a part in the school board, shaping a child's future in education. It's an amazing experience. Education is super exciting, and to be able to be a small part of making an impact on a child's life is pretty rewarding. And so something that time-wise, yes, you're going to be putting in everything that is going to be required, and usually that accounts for, on average, anywhere from 4 to, it could be up to 15, 20 hours in preparation for a meeting, depending on what's on the agenda. But basically you put into it what you are able to, but as I've heard here tonight, the more you put into it, the better person that you're going to be as a representative for your constituents. So I don't know, I find it highly exciting, and I look forward to each and every meeting. And so anyone that would be interested in, all I would say is if you're thinking about it, think long term, get involved. At the school level, there's a number of volunteer options to be involved. So you really get to understand what's going on within the district, and be known as someone that wants to provide solutions. The rest, I guess, if you need a tap on the shoulder or whatever, be ready for it.
I just want to second the Association of School Boards has a great site on how to run for school board. There's lots of information, as well as the Counties Association and others. So it's just another resource. And I'm going to hand out a bunch of resources of where to find stuff. But it's all yours, Dorothy, to facilitate the Q&A.
Okay. Speaking of which, another resource is the website of the League of Women Voters of Wisconsin. On the opening page on the right side is a panel the list of tabs. One of them is running for office. You click on that, you get a whole array that includes, there's some text there, some specific information, and then more resources of the sort that Tom is referring to and passing out here. So we've heard the prepared answers to the prepared questions, and we'd like to open it up to the audience. The folks seated here, or the folks in the ether. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mary Slewinski. I live in Three Lakes. I'm hoping that you will all give an honest answer to this question, but I'm afraid if you do, we'll all go running out the back door and you'll never see any of us again. Dave touched on it a little bit in terms of the amount of time that he spends as chairman, but if there's any way for you to try and be as accurate as possible. And I don't mean just showing up at the meetings or even doing, the reading you need to do to be familiar with the issues and the agenda that's on that meeting, but the background information you collect, the times you get stopped in the grocery store, the times you get phone called at home or, stopped at your kid's baseball game, et cetera, et cetera. Is there any way for you to share? I don't think anybody wants to commit to more than they really have time to do, but we have no idea how much time that is.
Yeah, so the formal time, the time for meetings, in-person things, the time for prep, kind of alluded to that a bit, and then just the time for those side conversations when you're trying to get milk and eggs at the grocery store.
I'm wondering if his wife is better to answer that question.
If I answer that question, one thing, particularly on the county level, that you don't have to worry about on the Three Lakes level is the drive time. Dave says he does 50% of his time. But by the time you add the drive time, add the phone time, as supervisor, it was one thing. As chair, I don't agree to 50%.
Misleading the public.
As, to quote you, I'm not a politician. I always exaggerate.
Yeah. I think we ought to take a moment and thank Dave Hintz for his service, because he's really done an incredible amount.
I want to say that he was appointed the first time. It was in November, so it was 12 years ago, quote today, that he was appointed as supervisor for Three Lakes. And in April, he will have completed 8 years as chair.
And how the appointment worked, that's the first time I had competition. There were 3 people seeking the appointment, and a vacancy, the county board chair picks a person, but it has to be confirmed by the full county board. And how I got involved, Frank Gribb, anybody remember Frank? Mm-hmm. Was on the county board. He was also the dam tender, so I went to visit him at the dam. I had a stack of paper in front of him, and he was looking at, what are you looking at, Frank? It's planning and zoning. I'm on the county board. So he explained it to me, and it was pretty interesting. Then about 4 months after that, he retired from the county board, and I was appointed to take Frank's place in November 12 years ago. So that's how it all happened. But it is rewarding. It is frustrating, too, when you think the county does something wrong or you can't do everything you'd like to do. The process is very slow. I think we debated for 4 years what a dog license should cost. And some issues that seem more material, we have a 2-minute discussion and everybody votes yes or no. And Stephen's taking the heads yes. It's always interesting looking at an agenda to see which item's going to catch you with the time commitment. And I'm not good at forecasting that. Confusing. It is rewarding, so I encourage everyone to really give it a hard thought, and we do need more diversity on the county board. 21 old men and fairly active.
Not all of them use technology either.
No, and there's some, I remember one person saying we thought about getting iPads and putting all this paper and iPads over my dead body. You know, I'm not going to let you do that. And maybe it'll happen over his dead body. And everything is automated, or most things are automated. We get our meeting notes, get a lot of emails, many more emails than I do phone.
What sort of topics or challenges or issues that just astonished, blindsided you that you have you come across, had to deal with, that you had no idea would be involved in your responsibility? Prizes.
I don't know if you wanted to go in any order.
Whatever, just jump in.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've told several people this. I'm sure I was naive when I ran for the town board, and I'm sure I still am. But when I first ran, when I looked at the different departments the town had, as far as the department heads were concerned and the personnel, from my view, town board members come and go, but the real constant were the employees, or so I thought. And the employees would be the backbone that would always be there. And, you know, I don't remember if I was on the town board for a year or 2 years or what the time frame was. One of the town employees that I thought would be here forever ended up, for personal reasons, leaving. And I never saw that coming. And there was a lot of questions that came with that. And it was that thing where, because everybody knows each other, and this individual I had known for 25 years, and it was very difficult. Nothing could prepare me for that time. And just when you get one fire put out, something else comes up. But for me, the most difficult thing of my job has always been about dealing with people, the personnel, similar to what David had indicated. And we've had to do that several times. It's never easy. It hasn't gotten easier. Even if you don't know the person on a personal level, it's still hard. That would be my thought.
I can jump in. This is. I was just gonna say, for us, we only have 2 employees at the town of Crescent. They're our highway crew, and they are fabulous. We do have an opening, and we're recruiting for one because of retirement. So if anyone, but I can tell you that for something that we thought was going to be really simple, and I had previously watched it be very fast-tracked through meetings that I'd attended prior to being on the board, driveway permits. Now they are extensively sort of discussed, and we spend a whole lot of time on just driveway permits and how they impact our roads, and do they need culverts or not. So I'm learning a lot about that. But back to the question about the time involved, because I don't want anyone to be scared off by everything. I would say that my time as supervisor is maybe I've got little kids speaking in 10 hours a month, I would say, give or take, depending on the month.
Marita Schwartz. I'm actually from Eagle River, and I would like to be well informed before I would consider running for a school board position. And my question is about, yes, time involvement. As far as any kind of, is there a committee? Obviously, there's various committees that one participate in. Is that voluntary of a board member, or is that assigned or appointed? And that adds more time, I take it, correct?
As far as the Three Lake School District, we basically have the 5-member school board. I know many districts have subcommittees
Yes.
of the board that serve the board. We will appoint a committee to certain tasks. We just had one work on our school forest property out in County A to come up with a plan on that. And but that was an appointed committee, and when their task was done, then that committee was disbanded. But I know a number of districts do have several committees. And usually, as a district is a larger district, they will have that. But there are definitely many ways to be part of the process even before you get onto the board. You know, if you're looking to explore this and such.
Yeah, I've been attending the board meetings, which is a good start.
Yep.
And asking a lot of questions, and actually, I know that some of the committees are open to the public, so I'm attending and learning that way. Well, but I really appreciate, by the way, opening this up to other learning something here.
So there again, the clerk for the district would be able to help you figure out the structure.
Yes.
You know, but it sounds like you're attending meetings, you might already know it.
Yes, yes.
At the county level, we love committees. We have probably 21 committees. There's only one committee that's elected by the county board, Public Works, formerly called our Highway Commission. And the county board at our organizational meeting, members will look for votes to get on the Highway Commission, called Public Works. And we'll do a interest poll of the members of the county board, but the chair assigns the county board members various committees, hopefully based upon their interest. And it takes a lot of time for that. And one thing we've been criticized, virtually all of our meetings are during the day. So it's some difficulty for a working person to serve on the committee. We've tried some night meetings, but they were marginally successful. But most of our meetings are during.
And how do you decide when something is important enough to warrant the establishment of a new committee? And do you ever disband or combine committees? How do you decide that stuff?
Today we had a county board meeting, and there's someone that part of a resolution recommended a task force, they wouldn't call it a committee, to look at enforcement of rental units. Rental units are allowed now in the county. It used to be up until a couple of years ago, you had to rent for 30 days or more. Now the state set that standard as a week or more. And there's a feeling that a lot of people are non-compliant, so not paying the sales tax, not paying the room tax, don't have the application with the health department or their permit with planning and zoning of the health department. And we subscribe to a service that looks for people advertising rental units and try to do some enforcement. You know, where's your permit or your sales tax? It's very difficult to do that. So someone recommended a task force to do that, increase our compliance rate and enforcement. And it takes the full county board vote to establish a new committee, or even called a task force or subcommittee. And we've had years, basically the same committees. We changed names a bit. The administration committee was formerly known as the finance committee, but most of our committees are long-standing committees.
And Mike, I have a question for you to help. What's your name?
Marita.
To help Marita, maybe. What sort of support and mentoring have you gotten from fellow members of the school board? Did you get when you were a newbie? From fellow members of the school board or predecessors?
Oh, crash course.
How's that? Yeah, tell us how that worked.
My experience at the time is that, there wasn't a whole lot of formal training at that point. And that is something that learned that we need to improve upon, because there are a lot of things that when you're on the board for the first time, any professional organization has their own language, and education has their own language. And when you're sitting there as a board member and district administrators start spewing out all these acronyms, and you're just like, you're kind of almost like in a little bit of a daze, because there's a lot of things that get thrown at you that you simply have never heard of before.
Acronymonics. Nightmare. Yeah, okay.
And so something simple as that, to have someone involved in orientation right from the start. Now, since that, the Wisconsin Association of School Board has orientation set up. I think it's pretty much a full weekend journey. Kyla, did you attend that?
Not yet.
Okay.
I stepped in midterm when someone else resigned, and I joked to my husband that after the first night, I got called in to the superintendent's office for detention because she said to me, "I think we need to discuss the questions you asked," because I recused myself on answering or voting on something because I didn't know all the facts. But since then, when we get the paperwork, I'm able to email any of the teachers or the principal and ask exactly what does this mean and what's going on. And because I'm active in the community, I think I know a little bit more about the acronyms and what's going on. And I taught at Nicolay College for a few years. But it's walking into a situation that you have new people and you're not sure, who normally makes the first motion, who makes the second motion. How does it come that you come to a resolution? But I have felt very supported. I can call Mike, I can call any of the school board members, or I can email Terry and say, "Can I come to detention?" and you explain it to me.
So I'm hearing that learning go-to people when you're a newcomer is an important thing. Are there some categories of go-to people or some ones that you
with the town board?
Yeah,
the Wisconsin Towns Association is definitely a resource that we can use. You mentioned the Women's League of Voters. I actually downloaded your How to Run for an Election from your website. So I go in between the Wisconsin Towns Association, the League of Women Voters. There is another one that's I'm not thinking of right now that I always refer to all the time. So there's a lot of resources that will assist any new elected official, whether it's on a town board level or the school board level or a county level. There are definitely agencies and resources that are available that will walk you through a lot of things. Well, you can send emails or call directly. They'll get back to you with legal advice. So there's definitely a lot of assistance.
I think also from my perspective, being on the town board, my best source of information as a town board supervisor is sitting right next to me. The town clerk is here all day, every day. The town clerk is privy to information in real time that most people aren't. And so she's always been my go-to person that helps me to be able to be more effective at my job. And going back to your question, Mary, as far as the time element, I agree completely with Dave. Some people get their packet 5 minutes before the meeting and they might not even look at it. But what I usually do is I come into the town hall here 3-4 times a week, find out what's new or what's going on, and in the process of that, I'm able to run out on a road where there's a problem or a place where there's a problem to take some pressure off the town shop foreman or somebody affiliated with the town, just so that we have a board member who knows what may or may not be happening. And in the process, a lot of times we're able to put out fires before they spread. But I would say heard the figure of 10 hours a month earlier, we have 2 meetings in Three Lakes here per month, regular, not including specials. I put in at least 30 hours a week being a town board supervisor. But that's my choice. That's my choice. I try to keep up with everything. And I would say, going back to another question that came up, how you can get involved, and I know that your question was more about the school board, ma'am, but on the town government level, I felt I was really fortunate that I was involved in our town's plan commission for a couple of years, and then ultimately I became the chairman of that before I ran for town board. But the one thing I would say about when I was on the PC, being a member was completely different than being the chairman, which Dave was alluding to, because when I was the chairman, I felt like I had to know as much as possible about every item that I put on the agenda, because I knew there was going to be questions, and I needed to feel prepared for those questions. And a lot of times those questions never came up, but I just felt like I needed to know that. It's just totally different being the chairperson.
I think one thing you'll find in government is the same as other groups. I'm active in the Lions Club, and probably 20-25% of the members do most of the work. And it's the same with I think most church groups or other civic organizations. And it's the same way in the county board.
The self-selected among the selected. That's the way of it. Kyla, I have a question for you to start with that stems from the saying that if you want to get something done, ask a busy woman to do it. Could you share with us what, I wouldn't say shortcuts, but economies of time and efficiencies that you have learned or are beginning to learn?
Yeah, absolutely.
Your office, and then the other panelists, please chime in. But
I think I've learned that, the term balance is a total fallacy, and I think that it puts pressure on people that they should always be striving for finding some sort of balance, and that really doesn't exist. I've reframed that and sort of made it, what's my tolerance level in terms of time and priorities. So maybe this week, I'm elevating town board stuff. I initiated a town e-newsletter. So maybe this week I'm really elevating my time and priorities around that. And maybe I'm sort of lowering my time commitment for something else. So it's sort of like this constant ebb and flow. And I never seek to find a balance, because I find that that's just added pressure and doesn't exist. But for me, I've also really learned that compartmentalizing is an absolute lifesaver. And so I'll think about, for example, today I had work, then a meeting, and now this meeting. And so I was not thinking about this meeting at my other commitments. I take one thing at a time, and I'm completely invested for that period of time. Multitasking in certain situations can be okay. Sure, can I throw a load of laundry in while I'm also writing the e-newsletter? Absolutely. But for most cases, compartmentalizing and allowing myself to think solely about the task at hand or the meeting at hand has been really helpful.
I just want to say that I sit on a committee with Kyla outside of all of this, and one of the reasons I asked her to participate is because I'm amazed at how she manages her time and does everything she does, and yet, have a family and everything else. And that's the reason I asked her to be on here.
Thanks, Tom.
She really does a good job at doing it.
So I heard the term compartmentalizing, and one thing at a time. Any, the others, if you want to talk about a key term or a key technique that you use to pass your time or on track, keep you from getting overwhelmed?
Well, I usually have a lot of visitors in my office in the morning until a certain amount of time. So usually by 1 o'clock, I'm pretty good until about 1 o'clock. And then by 1 o'clock, I'm like, I've got to get some stuff done. So I'm usually pretty loose about the conversations or different topic matters for a while. But by the afternoon, I definitely have in my head that I've got to I've got to shut this down and I've got to get, structured on my budgets or whatever it is, that particular subject matter that I'm working on, so I can stay focused on it. But the morning we'll have a lot of different subject matters coming in and out, but I do have to shut the door or say to Kelly, take messages, I really need a couple hours to work on the budget and I can't be interrupted. So I will have to do that, where I'll have to shut the door or take messages. Otherwise, it'll just continue, the subject matters just continue on throughout the day. Nothing ever gets readdressed.
And I found you really have to be focused on what's important and not interfere with everyone's business. We have very good qualified department heads and let them do their work and proceed ahead and concentrate on those issues that are significant and try to pursue those to a proper ending.
One of the things I heard tonight is you're definitely going to need family support because, when you're away for whatever it requires for the meetings and then that happens in between meetings. If you got a family, it's going to affect not just you being there, but you're also away from some other things that you're a part of. And you need that commitment from, the rest of the family. That's so important because without it, you're going to find yourself compromising perhaps the reasons that you want to be part of that organization, that government. But it's really an investment in what you're considering, and it's one of those things that is mentioned tonight that somebody's going to do it, and to make things move ahead, it takes someone to grab the reins and move it ahead. And that doesn't happen without investment of time. There's also passion that's involved into it. But if you're committed and you view it as an investment, it makes it easier. It's not just spending time. You're making change for improvement for the better, for the future of whatever entity that you're considering running election for. So I think keeping that in focus, having the family backing and thinking that it's more an investment, I think helps me continue on and enjoy what I do.
Follow-up question on that. Can you give one or more recent examples of action taken by the school board? You said to yourself that we just made a significant difference for the kids and families.
Yeah, there's several things that I think that as far as the district is concerned, that I think really helped our students. I think of some of the major projects that stand out. The Fab Lab that was done back 5 years ago. Recently, the school forest purchase was a big step for our community, and having the school has forests already, but we really haven't actively pursued setting up any structure or any organization to them. And this one here was perfect parcel that was ideally located between the two schools. So it was a natural fit for some of the things that we had talked about for years. And when we had that opportunity to purchase it, it was like, this is going to happen. And a lot of people got really excited about it. Probably one of our largest attended annual meetings. Several hundred people, maybe not several hundred, but over 100 anyways. And it was really rewarding to see how much support there was for this. And it was something that the district had put forth into its long-range plan. Every 5 years, we do another long-range plan for the district. One of the things we want to do is increase the amount of hands-on activities for our students. And we saw that this would be a great adventure and a way of doing that for our students. And so we saw a lot of community support for it. The board went ahead and made the purchase, and we're actively moving ahead with shaping the curriculum and things that will go along with that. So just one example, I guess, of some of the exciting things that you can be a part of. So,
anybody else want to share one of those every once in a while? Wow.
I think from at the town level, one of those things is the building we're sitting in, the library next door, our road plan. I think our road plan has been awesome. Our fourth year.
We're going into our fifth. We will be going into a fifth.
We've, with the taxpayers' approval, we're still in the process of replacing every road in town. Prior to the current chairman that we have, who led the charge on this road plan, prior to that, our town's budget was about $300,000 to $400,000, correct, towards road improvement.
Yep.
And the roads were deteriorating at a much faster rate than we could even patch them. And I've kind of felt like we were just throwing money away. And now I feel that we're on the track where we're replacing these roads, and we have a real plan to keep them up to a good high standard. And I'm sure there's a lot I don't know and a lot I don't remember. But when people ask me, or I ask myself, where has our tax dollars gone? I don't have to look far. I mean, this building, the library, our roads, I feel as a community, we, and when I say we, I mean everyone, really pulled together, and we've done a lot of great things. And the foundation and other groups of people, lots of organizations have done lots of things.
We're pretty fortunate to have a really active waterfront association.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Three Lakes Fish and Wildlife,
The Lions Club.
The Lions Club. We have a lot of organizations that partner with the town on projects, donate towards our buoys, boat landings. Yeah, we partner with them a lot. And if we didn't have these committees and commissions to work with us and these outside groups to work with us, we would not, our waterfront for sure, our AIS program would not nearly be as successful as it is.
And the town board doesn't drive all of it.
No.
Most of these organizations come to us. They're just passionate people that have ideas and plans, and they have their own funding source and stuff, and they just need our support. And I mean, that's what makes our community. You know, that's what makes it, you know, it's an honor to be part of, and it's exciting just to see.
You got the people in the public, the private, profit sectors who work the community. Believe, as we all should, that that infrastructure, money spent on infrastructure, is an investment in assets. Because who's going to come to a town where the waterfront is junked up and the buildings are falling down and there's ruts in the road?
Yeah, well, there's so many areas that we can't control. There's so much private business and things that happen that are out of our control, that the things that are within our control, we've really been trying over the last, all the years that I've been here, it's always been, whether it's economic development and broadband with one leader or town roads with another leader, all of the various chairmen over the years that I've been involved all bring their own vision and their own ideas, and they're all good. They're just different. Sometimes they're just different. So I've had the fortune of working with a few different chairmen that have had different leadership ideas. So, and you can see that from the fact that we do have a really good broadband in our area. Yes, they can all improve, but when you think about some of the smaller communities that don't have nearly what we've received during, I think when Mike was on the Plan Commission with the towers being built in 3 Lakes, 10 years ago, we started that process. So it's nice to see that we've moved from certain aspects into infrastructure. Maybe it goes back into economic again later on, but it all comes around at some point. So we try to hit all of the areas if we can at some point.
I'm hearing that when you hit that spot of cooperation.
Yes, absolutely.
Results in the build of something. For your community satisfaction for living here. That's what. On the flip side, how do you brace yourself for those meetings when they're contentious, where tempers flare and people shout and stomp and those little flashes of, I don't know what you call it, that are in between those long periods when nobody shows up to the meeting.
Exactly. We look at each other like, why is everybody here tonight? And we start looking at the agenda. Like, what subject matter is on here?
So how do you weather that? How do you brace yourself, and how do you get through it and beyond?
I think Supervisor Boehm is listening, reminding them. Listening to them basically. I think. And reminding the engage in conversation, just listen.
Yeah. I think that's an important point. Sometimes people are misinformed for whatever reason. They don't have the full set of information. Maybe they don't care to know the full set of information. They just want to vent. You got to kind of feel out the situation, but you have to kind of know what time of the meeting it is. If it's citizen comments time and somebody wants to go off a citizen, as a board member, you're best to sit here and listen. That's your job, is to listen. Citizens they have the right to talk, and a board member is not supposed to engage them. And sometimes, because we're all passionate, as a board member, you want to get your 2 cents in, or you want to straighten somebody out and say, listen, that's not the facts. But that's not the time to do it, because citizen comments time that's the citizens' time. But most of the time when there's been a topic that I predicted was going to be catastrophic as far as personality clashes and tempers and stuff, normally those didn't go as bad as I thought they were going to. It's the ones I didn't see coming where a conversation goes south early on for whatever reason. And I guess all you can really do is try to stay on point by focusing on the real facts, because you have to make a decision sooner or later. You have to set aside your personal differences and stay on point and make decisions. I use myself and Chairman Bruss as an example. Although this hasn't happened lately, he and I enjoy playing devil's advocate with each other. Some people, if they didn't know us, they might think we don't like each other, but that's not the truth. The truth is we highly respect each other and we debate issues. He often doesn't say what he really believes, and often I don't either when we're engaged in debating an issue. It's just that no one else is expressing that point of view. So somebody has to bring that up. So we vet those things out. And it's important because we're sitting at the table that the rest of the community can't sit at. Our job is to represent people. And there's always valid arguments from all sides of the spectrum. And so, sometimes you just have to take a deep breath and choose your battles, but win your wars.
I think it's all about respecting other people. And on occasion, I've told people to count to 10 and we'll resume the meeting. And people will argue with each other, and generally, people then apologize. Oh, I'm sorry I said that to you. And we'll get some apologies. People really think about it. And listening to the public is important. We do have a 3-minute limit on public comments, so try to enforce that, allow everyone to speak. But I think we get along pretty well, but we've had our flare-ups. We had some today even. The people, I think, then apologize. Well, I didn't really mean that, or I said those. You just have to get along. You have to be a little thick-skinned, not taking it personally. And people have different opinions.
And that's a segue into another question. What, in your mind, in the minds of each of you, is unique about local government, serving in local government offices as opposed to state or federal?
Yeah. That was the one thing that you have the option, I guess, when you choose to serve your community and which direction you want to go. And part of the town for a while there, and it was also in the school. And I could feel a difference between the two entities, having been in both seats, not as an elected official in the town, but part of the plan commission. But it definitely had a different feel. And I can only imagine what it would be to further up the ladder, should I say, as a representative of the state representation or the Senate. As you move up, it's going to be more political. And that never interested me. I was always more interested in finding the best solution, in my case, for our district, for our students, for all the people that work within our district, and put aside the political thought and discussion. This past year, it definitely was a little different going through the COVID experience. Finding that passageway through that was providing a safe environment for our students and also the best learning environment you could possibly create. You get one chance with these students, and you want to make sure you do it right. And we had people with passions on one side of the fence or the other, and I'm talking about the mask issue. Something as simple as that little piece of fabric on their face. People were emotionally charged about that, and we had some meetings that people definitely expressed their opinions, and you have to listen to that. You have to feel that out, and because I don't think any one of us, whether we're at the board table or if we're in the audience, nobody had all the answers for how to correctly go through this experience. And it was a step-by-step procedure that we took as a board to try to, we knew that eventually someday we were going to get through this. And it wasn't going to be just a light switch on and off. It was going to be a gradual change to what we all hope would be normal again. And that was the path that we took. But I will tell you, it was not without contention. And it was part of the journey. And so, yeah,
I use as a sad joke, we don't want to be like Madison or even worse, be like Washington. And I think
What
that's
do you
it.
mean by that? What
Well, I
what do you mean
think
by that?
county government is nonpartisan. We don't run as a Republican, and I think at the higher levels, people are very partisan. And if you're a Republican, the other person's a Democrat, the Republican cannot have a good idea, the Democrat cannot have a good idea. People just fight over every issue. We do have people that are more conservative, more liberal, and try to get along and think accomplish that much better, which is a very low mark than either Madison or. And it's sad to say that, but we generally get along.
I think one of the things that we have here in Three Lakes, which is similar to many of our northern Wisconsin communities, is that we have a population boom, you know, in the summer and on weekends and stuff like that, because we have our seasonal residents or our part-time residents. And although they're not registered voters here, they're still taxpayers and they still deserve representation. And there's always been the stereotype by them that they have taxation without representation. And there's the polarization of, oh, they're a tourist, which they take offense to. So there's a real balance between, a taxpayer is a taxpayer, and we need to do our best to represent them at all times. And I don't consider that to be a challenge, because I know a lot of these folks. But it's important, again, to listen to what people have to say and take the time to get to know your community members.
So yeah, what do you feel unique about
for the town? Well, the fact that we are nonpartisan, so I do think that makes a big difference when, there's no sides at all. You just keep an open mind. Everybody in a smaller town, so you tend to be a little bit more personal with people versus or being in different, levels of government. I don't know, I guess that would be basically my take on it. That, everybody can be, it's a little bit more personable. I don't like that we're nonpartisan, and I think a little bit more open.
Okay, Kyla, you finish up with a response to that question. What do you find unique about local public office versus state, federal, or other?
Yeah, I think for me, it was really important to start showing my kids the importance of civic engagement. And so doing that on a local level, starting with just our township, it's easier for them to maybe see that. They come in when they watch me vote, and are like, yes, this is where we have meetings, or, if there's a town road being redone, we'll talk about that. So from a perspective, it was helpful and I think more meaningful on this really sort of micro level for me to show my kids the importance of civic engagement. And on the same token, these are the same people that, I wave to when I'm running in the morning and they're driving on the road. And I just feel like right now I can affect greater change for my neighbors as a town supervisor.
Well said. Those are some fine thoughts to take away. And
I think we're good. I have all the paperwork here. Don't rush up here.
Thanks to all five of you. Audience present and in the Zoomosphere. And
think
I
John
hope
wants
I hope
to-
I can speak for you. I'll speak for myself, but you all make me proud. Your conscientiousness, your motivation, your time commitment, your energy commitment. That makes me feel right fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, one quick question. Maybe this is a Tom question. What are the application deadlines?
Okay, so the application deadline is January 4th to get everything in. You cannot start circulating the nomination papers until December 1st. So you have between December 1st and 4:30 on January 4th to get it into your clerk. And it's best to be communicating with them in the process so they can know what's coming and you can hand it off at the right time. It's not that hard to get 30 signatures. You can get your friends and neighbors to help. You can have a signature party, all kinds of ways to do
Yeah,
that.
and with the school board, I don't even think you need signatures, do you?
Yeah. No?
Originally, when I was first applied, I did, but
Yeah,
I-
but yeah, you don't have to now. I thought that was
Yeah.
kind of interesting.
I'll find out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom, you make the paperwork not sound so scary. The rest of you make serving not sound so scary and make it seem like, gee, I could be in office with you guys as mentors.
I was really impressed with the turnout for tonight too. I'm glad
Thank you,
people
everybody,
took
for
the time.
coming tonight. A quick plug before you sneak out the door, Jackie. I see you over there. The Denver Library is thrilled to be able to collaborate with Three Lakes and now on the League of Women Voters. You are now a partner in our pocket, so expect more and greater things. Another thing coming up on Friday, there is still room at Honey Rock. We will be hosting engaging people with your organization for nonprofit membership recruitment, finding volunteers for events, finding people or finding donors for your causes. That's at Honey Rock. Rob Ribby will be the presenter. 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. lunch is provided for free. So if nothing else, come and get lunch served by Honey Rock. Register through the Denver Library, and we're very happy to be able to work with partners who are helping us offer these programs for free. We're looking at a social media or a media 101, communicating your cause, if probably in January, and some more of these events coming up. So please stay tuned, watch your local newspaper. Thank you, Carrie, for getting us in the paper. And thank you to everybody who came out tonight. I think this is really worthwhile for everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Virtual handshake, Kyla.
Hi. I'm John.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I just got a new laptop.
Are you from Madison? Where do you live? Rhinelander, yeah, I know that place. This one I haven't.
Thank you.
Yeah,